Hey, what's up guys, Chris here, and guess what I found out last week, from you guys actually. There are two Overwatch cinematics we still haven't taken a look at, and it has to do with Heroes of the Storm. So today, we're gonna take a look at Hanamura Showdown, I think, that has Mr. Kenji himself, and if I had to choose one to be, I would choose to be a sci-fi badass samurai myself. Let's fire up YouTube and check out the Overwatch Hanamura Showdown cinematic. I do actually have to plug in first. We're in. Full screen and 1, 2, 3. Crude humor. That's a new one.
When I was young, I lived a life of recklessness.
The dragon.
In my selfishness, I inflicted pain and hurt those I cared for. I have learned many lessons in my struggles with doubt and fear.
That's a big boy.
Balance and harmony are not easily attained. They must
Yes,
be
boy.
fought for.
Let's go. One shot it. Sick. He did that very fast though. Nice. What?
But on my journey, I have learned another lesson. You do not have to fight.
Oh, Diva. Teamwork. Oh, that's sick, man. Nice. Finish him. That was extremely short. Why do they keep doing this to us? First of all, let's like the cinematic, like this video as well, guys. And if you're enjoying these reactions, hit subscribe as well. This was awesome. Very glad you guys let me know that this was still out there. Now, I don't know what Heroes of the Storm is, but that was pretty sick. Like I said before, Kenji is kind of like my man. I mean, you know, character-wise, he's just the most badass, I would say. He did his limit break or special move quite early in the fight, and they didn't really show the fight being done. They just teased us very nicely and then be like, play the game, yeah, cool. Which is very classic, but this one was what, 2 minutes and 20 seconds. That's really short for Overwatch cinematics, but I still really liked it. Now, let's go right back in, start from the start, sure, and talk about some really cool stuff. So, we have the rating, classic tagline. You know what I'm very impressed by? This maybe was done from a different studio, but this one did not have the classic Blizzard Entertainment massive logo, but...
When I was young, I lived a life of recklessness.
Very cool. This shot is very interesting because they use depth of field immensely to really blur out the actual background and have the foreground in focus, which is just flowers. So we focus on the flowers because that's where the focus is. Everything that's blurred out, the eye, has the natural kind of like take to it, that they don't really focus on it. That's why you see, especially when you first start as a filmmaker, you really want shallow depth of field because you feel that's the only way to direct your audience's attention to where you want it is by throwing everything else out of focus, so the audience only focuses on what you actually want. And this is actually a very good trick to do when the location is a bit subpar. By throwing everything out of focus, you can hide things in the location that are not as you would like them to do for various limiting reasons. So we first start with a nice, very smooth kind of like dolly zooming through the flowers while the character gives some narration.
Lived a life of recklessness.
Very subtle sound effect, and then we see the crest, I guess. What would you call that? But it's like clawed out, which is really cool. Then we go in.
Selfishness. I inflicted pain and hurt those I cared for.
It's very interesting because the narration is mirrored in the visuals, but this is a very slow-paced opening, I would say. They are building up but showing us very specific things, destruction, fire, damaged stuff, but this is actually a tiny bit hard to pull off. You really need to have very interesting dialogue as a narration, as well as very interesting visuals. Otherwise, the audience can get bored really quickly. If you're not a well-known IP, let's say, it's very dangerous to do that because you can lose the audience very quickly. Now, when you are an established IP, you can trust that the audience is going to stick through it no matter what.
I have learned many lessons in my struggles with doubt and fear.
Very classic opening scene for a powerful character. When you start down low on the ground and you start smoothly panning up, you give a lot of strength to the subject, because when you're down low looking up to something, it gives you the sensation of power. Imagine if they showed the exact same monster, but it was from a bird's eye view, just really far away, kind of like glazing through, and you would see them. You wouldn't feel as intimidated because you're further out and also you're looking down from a safe spot. When you're down on the ground and you see a huge monster above you and you do that, that's when you feel their scale, their power, and so forth. So very interesting thing to note about scenes and how you can choose specific type of shots to convey a message uninstinctively, basically.
Balance and harmony are not easily attained.
I would have liked a darker environment, in the sense that exactly what happened, but imagine dark clouds, distant thunder, and subtle rain. That I feel would have given such a more impactful danger feeling and kind of like aesthetic to the whole thing. This being very sunny, to me, it's a bit too happy-go-lucky. I'm excited to see what's happening, but at the same time, it's so sunny, it's so colorful. It doesn't make me feel trapped, you know? I think if this was made to be a dark storm, and just imagine the blade of Kenji in one of the shots in slow motion slicing through the drops of water, and the contrast between that and the monster being that crimson red and firing up that flame, it would have made such a scene.
They must be fought for!
Let's go! Boom! Love this. Very cool scene to discuss. Actually, if we go back a tiny bit, you can see some really great animation elements. Boom. As we pan up to the sky and the sun hits the digital cam, you can see the diffraction of light as if this is actually shot with a film camera and lens, and dust particle imperfections cast the light out. They didn't have to do this, but it's such a nice touch to include, because things like this really help make animation feel more real, in a sense. The other really cool thing about this is that they keep the action as it happens throughout, constant. Now, this is another thing that, for example, John Wick is very famous about pulling this off in an amazing degree, where the action just keeps going. You see Keanu Reeves as John Wick go through, hitting people, fighting with them, getting another gun, reloading on the spot, and the shot is never split. You never have an edit cut between the action happening. Now, depending on who you are, this is kind of like an objective, kind of like, I like this, I don't mind this, or I really like when this is happening, or you know, you're not a fan because you feel that sometimes it drags for too long and you don't feel immersed in the action. I think when used on the right amount, it can be very cool, but the thing about it is, if you're shooting live action, is that everything is go perfect. And usually, in order for that to happen, you need a lot of resource and a lot of practice for it to go perfect, which is usually not the case with the smaller productions. To which I would say, in my short films like Final Fantasy, Paragon, I prefer to be in the action and use great impacts to cut to the next shot, because I feel that the audience is still very immersed in it, and at the same time it is useful production-wise, if that makes any sense. But in this case, this is animations, they have the time, and this shot is really good, and I think they kept it for the right amount of time. Oh. Bankai! Come on, man, that must have done way, way, way more damage. Right? Come on. I love this scene. Oh, so cool. This is another cool little tiny trick. You see this? So the character is gonna get hit really, really strongly, let's say, right? But they don't show it. And in the next scene, the character flies back. This reminds me of a very cool filmmaking technique, which is basically, you don't need to show, you can imply. So let's say I'm in a car driving and my character is supposed to be in a car crash. You can fake this by lights, shaky cam and sound design, and then cut to black. And in the next scene, the car is already crashed. What you did there is that you implied that the car crash happened, but you didn't show it. Because let's say that you can't film a car crash, you don't have the budget for it. You can still have the car crash in the story, and you don't really need to always show. You can imply, and with great sound design, great edit, and film properly before and after what you do not show, you can still pull it off. And this reminded me of that, which is a good shout. This reminds me of where Hanzo and Genji fought in still, I think, the most famous Overwatch reacts on the channel, which is Dragons. Easily, let's say, it's the best.
But on my journey, I have learned another lesson.
Teamwork!
You have to fight alone!
It's funny because she is a very happy character and very, you know, sci-fi-esque. She's using that kind of like robot thing. She's such a huge contrast because she just laughs all the time. She has pink stuff and it's kind of like, sure, I can't take it like, oh, see, she's just laughing. Let's see. Sick. I love that scene actually, where he goes and slashes the camera itself. I would say that's a great final move when the character actually wins, because we feel as the villain getting sliced ourselves. So I can really see it, just how they used it here as the final move. This was kind of like the original idea I had for the final move on Final Fantasy VII Resurgence, when the character goes on his limit break, just like it happens in the game. But it wasn't really tangible with the resources that we had on the day, so I then opted to give a bird's eye view and see the whole limit break happening on the same shot. If you guys haven't watched it, do make the effort to watch it. I think you can see everything we discuss here, and it's also very cool because live action. But yeah, with a cool slice, they finish it off. Is there anything after? No, there wasn't. Very cool. Well, I'm very glad that there was still this cinematic and one more to watch from Overwatch, because it's just super duper enjoyable and I love breaking them down as well. Let me guys know what you thought of the cinematic. Is there something you've missed as well because it's not from the core Overwatch cinematics? Let me know down in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay awesome and creative.